Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. Me and Benji today talking about England versus New Zealand. Oh my goodness. Like, what a start. We're going to be talking about the first 2 days. They're kind of awkward times because it's in New Zealand. So like they start play at like 9, half 9, 10 o'clock our time in the evening. And then, by the time it started, it's like a working day. So it's really difficult to get some podcasts out. Benji's really tired because he's been watching it. So hence a lot of yawns going on.
I watched midway through the second session yesterday. So I saw England starting to bowl. So
I was about the same. I think I watched up until I can't even remember. But either way, it was it's very late, but we do our best.
2 wickets. I think I ended up going to sleep probably about 1:30 my time. And then I was up to play golf this morning. So lots of yawns. Couldn't fit a podcast in this morning because we were just trying to catch up on the sleep that we've missed from watching this very thrilling test match, which it has been. And it's a tale of two players, I want to say, because bowling wise, as a summary, green seamer. That's what we got when we rolled upon day one. It was an absolute green seamer. Could have been at Trent Bridge if we'd have wanted it to. Slight overcast conditions, perfect for swing bowling. So naturally, New Zealand put England in. And everyone has made the pitch look difficult to bat on, with the exception of two individuals. And they are Harry Brook and Joe Root. James, talk to me about Harry Brook.
Oh, the kid's an absolute superstar. So to say that England were 21 for 3 in the first, like inside the first 7 overs, they then Harry Brook and Root put on a 302 run partnership. That is absolutely insane. And Harry Brook was by far the main aggressor. He ended up getting caught pretty early, caught and bowled on the second day, but he ended with 186 off 176. And it was ridiculous. It was an absolute masterclass. Like you say, it was pretty difficult conditions to bat in at first. It did flatten out a bit, but a bit of like incredible slip catching by Michael Bracewell, kind of removed Duckett and Pope, and Crawley he can't play cricket very well. So it did mean that Harry Brook and Joe Root were in pretty early. And it was absolutely amazing to see Harry Brook be the aggressor, but also look so composed and safe. And Joe Root took like a bit of a supporting role and batted at his kind of a classic tempo. It was sort of around strike rate. It was about 45, 50 for the first day, which, was just very good. And then on the second day, he kind of, he accelerated a bit after getting his 100, which I thought was just masterful. And Root ended on 153 not out, strike rate of 68, which, that's a good nip.
Yeah.
And it meant that England, from being 21 for 3, ended on 435 for 8 declaring. And it was all because of those two, really. So I was blown away.
I was so impressed with, I'll talk about Harry Brook in a second, but I was so impressed with Joe Root because we've seen him recently, I think, since we've got into the Bazball era. I mean, he's hit a couple of tons during that time. I think he had one with Bairstow. I think that was against New Zealand too, when they toured over here. And with Joe Root, he just looked so good the whole time he was batting. Like, it looked chanceless. And actually, if we look at Root in the first test, the way he got out was he was just swinging for it. He was going for the scoops. He was playing them risky. But actually, looking at when he played those scoops, like yesterday and the day before, they didn't look like they were risky at all. I think this is the 8th time Root's got a score of over 150. It's just some incredible figures that is, and I think Root is just cementing himself still as England's best player. Like, I feel like, Harry Brook's absolute like jump into stardom, everyone's sort of losing their heads a bit. I think Harry Brook has the potential to become England's best ever batter, but I think at the minute he's learning from Joe Root. And I think Joe Root still has that accolade, and I think he can definitely be our best. Again, Rootie's strike rate of 68, which I think, great considering the conditions, considering he came in at 21 for 3 and just needed to build and bat time, and he really earned that innings. And just some of the shots were just phenomenal. Like, some of the fours that he hit through the covers, his pulling looked phenomenal. He hit his now trademarked reverse scoops, but also his like little dabs and runs for one, like just ticking the scoreboard over was just such a well-crafted innings. Even as a bowler, I can respect an innings like that. I was gutted for Brook not making his double ton though.
Yeah, that was a real shame. It was pretty soft dismissal in the end. Just managed to sort of punt it up to Matt Henry, who took a very easy return catch. Who he did actually kind of parry it up first. But yeah, that was a bit gutting. I'm not sure about what Stokes is doing though, because he's playing these kind of flash in the pan innings where he, 27 off 28 or whatever he got today, and it's very much like he swings for it. And I got it at the start of Bazball because he was trying to lead from the front and show others how you do it and say there's no consequences if you go for it and play at your natural tempo. But that isn't his natural tempo. He doesn't bat like that in ODIs. He, he accelerates through his innings, and that's how he plays best. And it's disappointing to see him go out the way he's going out now, because I never expect him to get above 40 these days. Whereas in the past, you see Stokes, you're like, oh, could get 100 here, could get 200.
So, I feel like though Stokes is doing that because recently, Root and Bairstow, the 4 and 5 and the top 5 have been scoring runs. I feel like if Stokes was coming in a 25 for 4 situation, we'd see that innings. I think because he's trying to capitalize off the back of the groundwork that's been laid, and because you've got Harry Brook scoring hundreds for fun, I think that's probably why he's been doing that. But we all know he's capable of it. Like, we just think of Headingley 2019, like that was an innings where he didn't hit a shot in anger for 100 balls and then ended up scoring a phenomenal 100. I do want to talk a bit about New Zealand's bowling though, because I think that they struggled yesterday. I think that Matt Henry and Tim Southey looked great. I think Matt Henry was bowling fantastically. What New Zealand are missing is a Jameson and a Bolt. They're missing their follow-up bowlers. They've got their great opening pair in Southey and Henry, but the fact that Mitchell was first change and Wagner was second change, I think Wagner's fine, but I think for Mitchell, he's just not that standard of player to play as a first change seamer with his bowling.
They're trying to replace Colin de Grandhomme, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, they really miss him. And theoretically, Daryl Mitchell should be able to do that, because he'll bowl, 70-mile-an-hour dibbly dobblers that should be able to swing, and he's a very good batter. So as like-for-like replacements go, you would hope that he'd be able to do it. But yeah, he's quite, I don't know, I think he's less consistent with his line and lengths.
Yeah. You could just see once Southey and Henry had finished their first spell, the pressure just completely came off England, and the batters were able to put that back onto the New Zealand bowlers. Whereas the difference we see with England is, and I think we saw this yesterday, we had Anderson and Broad opening the bowling, but then straight away Robinson was in there, who could be a frontline bowler. So you've almost got 3 bowlers who are good enough to open. I mean, Ollie Robinson has bowled 8 overs for 6 runs. He's not taken a wicket, but he's been ridiculously economical. Like, he has the quality to, like, all of those three bowlers could be our opening pair. And then, Jimmy Anderson's masterful. I think it was 3 for 9 he was on at one point. I mean, that was just beautiful to see today. But yeah, do you want to speak a bit about the New Zealand collapse that we've seen?
Yeah, so once again, it's very dangerous bowling. That's got to be said.
Yeah.
And I actually have to commend the pitch, because even though it looked like it was discernible, like you couldn't tell the difference between the pitch and the outfield when they showed it first. It was just absolute green top. It has been a really good cricket pitch. Like, it has flattened enough. There has been something in it for the bowlers. Like, it seemed a bit, it's spun a bit, it's bounced, and it's also had, it's come onto the bat relatively nicely if the bowler isn't putting it into good areas. And as soon as it's kind of, you got a bit of width or it's a bit too full, it's lightning fast and the batter can put it away. So as far as pitches go, I think it's been brilliant. Like, everybody can use it to full effect. And we saw that with both the spinners as well. Michael Bracewell getting a couple of wickets, including one from Folkes, which was really embarrassing for him. He just basically fell over, got stumped. And then, Jack Leach as well, who I've got to say bowled brilliantly. Got Latham Nichols and Daryl Mitchell out. The two Mitchell and Nichols, those wickets, Ollie Pope, take a bow. They were brilliant.
Ollie Pope at short leg or silly point.
Silly point.
I mean, so good. Both of those catches were that. I think the best one for me was Daryl Mitchell, which was where he
straight off the face of the bat.
Yeah, straight off the face of the bat, and he just anticipates it and just throws an arm at it and pouches it. Yeah, that was such a great catch.
Yeah, I like that we have these fielding positions regularly and like so early on always. It's like you're playing like just park cricket, it's one hand, one bounce rules. So everybody's around the bat and you're just there like, I'm gonna get him. Yeah, it's a bit like that. It's so fun.
What I find interesting about New Zealand's batting lineup is that they don't really split out their right and left-handers very well. So we've got Latham and Conway who both open with the left hand, and I think, Anderson to get rid of Conway, that was phenomenal. That was a really, really good ball. But then, you get Williamson, Young, Nichols and Mitchell that come in after that. And they're all right-handers, which is just an absolute field day for Jack Leach, who's turning it away from these right-handers. And you can see that with what happened with the catches of Nichols and Mitchell. One bit of controversy, the Tom Latham catch. Did it hit his glove? Did it hit his arm guard? Where did that go? And again, for me, it's highlighting the uncertainty with the umpiring, and sometimes you've just got to go with the umpire's gut. But what do you think?
Well, I thought it was the right call, to be honest, because in real time it looked like he'd gloved it, and it was caught by slip. So for the umpire to give it out in years gone by before DRS, that would be out. So you got to accept that. Even if it isn't right, even if it has hit the arm guard, almost every single umpire is going to give that out. So that's definitely worth bearing in mind. In real time, it looked completely out. And then in the replays, from one angle, it looked like the first contact was just on the arm guard, which isn't out because it's not connected to the glove. The side-on angles look like it clipped the wrist band part of the glove, which is out before it then hit the arm guard. And I thought the third umpire, I think it was Alim Dar, took a long time over it, which is obviously then going to mean that you're going to get more kind of controversy over it. But I thought it was the right decision because there wasn't any evidence. There wasn't, proper conclusive evidence to say that it only hit the arm guard.
Yes. And that's it. There's no ideal scenario to this one because the technology didn't give conclusive whether it was out or not. And you need clear evidence to overturn the decision. The umpire on field, the standing umpire, had judged that and said, I think that's out. And there wasn't clear evidence to either support it or go against it. But Tom Latham, fair play. Felt a bit hard done by. But yeah, I mean, it was a silly ball to sweep anyway. So
It was, yeah. And it was good bowling, gotta say. Jack Leach, I love that he's sort of transformed into just a more confident bowler now, because a spinner with confidence makes them a lot more
well,
dangerous.
yeah, I would want to touch on this because it's like a genuine wicket-taking threat. Like previously, Leachy was just stick him at one end,
Yeah, hold up
hope
and
that he
in.
just hope that he doesn't get hit for too many. Let the seamers work from the other end, getting the wickets. But yeah, seeing him play like that and be a wicket-taking threat, I think that's fantastic for him and his confidence. And yeah, he's definitely now cemented himself as England's best spinner. Be interesting to see how Rahan Ahmed sort of fights for that stage as he comes through as well. But yeah, I think Leach has done really well, and I think hats off to him for today. It looked really good. So, have we got any C and Qs, or are we going to
We
just
do.
do
I
some
think we do. We
predictions?
might probably have a couple of CNQs, but I do want to. I'm going to offer a CNQ first,
Okay.
which is: do you think so? New Zealand at the moment are 138 for 7,
Yes.
so they trail by 297 runs. If England can, get rid of the tail and enforce a follow on, if they're in a position to be able to enforce a follow on, do you think they'll take that option, or do you think they'll carry on batting? What's your opinion?
I think because they declared at 430. So on this pitch, 350 is generally quite a good score in Wellington. I think that because they batted up to 400, they want to make New Zealand bat twice, especially with the weather that's about, where they've only got about 60 overs a day. So because there's that weather about as well, I think that even more says, look, they want to get this over as soon as they can. They're not trusting they're going to be able to bat deep into those last sessions because of the rain that is around. Also, you don't want to be bowling with a wet Kookaburra ball. A wet Kookaburra ball has about the same constitution as a red sponge that you're throwing down a pitch. Like, you're not going to be able to get much out of it. So yeah, I think it would make sense for England to enforce the follow on. Provided that's an option. Tom Blundell's still there, who was the century scorer in the first test, and Tim Southee can hold a bat. So, by all means, it's not a dead cert that England are going to just bundle them out in the first session tomorrow. If they do, though, I think there's a high chance that England will try and force that follow on and ideally bat once, but if not, have a low total to chase down. What about you?
So my instinct would be that they would try and bat again, but like 20 overs and try and get 200. I think they'd just absolutely go for it.
Go full T20 mode.
Yeah, but it does depend, and I'm excited to see. Now we do actually have some CNQs.
Yeah.
First one is about some IPL news, or just the IPL in general, but kind of leads on from Harry Brook's form, and it's from Amar Reddy, who said, "How do you think Brook would improve SRH, and what do you think, and what does Rashid in middle overs improve bowling over Janssen in the power play? We can only play one of these two." So I think because of the overseas setup that Sunrisers have, because Markram's just been announced as the captain of Sunrisers. Yes. So he's taking up one of the slots at the 4. And then, yeah, you're going to have Harry Brook. You have to have one of Heinrich Klaassen or Glenn Phillips, because you need a wicket keeper, and Sunrisers don't have an Indian one. So then the last overseas slot is between Marco Janssen and Adil Rashid.
Yeah.
Both offer something very different. Janssen probably a bit more batting, as we saw in the South Africa T20 League. But I reckon Adil Rashid's some more skillful bowling. So I think they'll do it horses for courses, depending on the pitch. If they're playing at Chennai, then they'll bring Adil Rashid out because that turns more. If they're not, so if they're at Mohali, for example, I think they'll play Marco Janssen. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they have enough spinners in there as well. The other player in there is Akil Hussain, who I think we might see him as well. Potentially because he again does offer that bit with the bat. They've not got tons of spin options. I mean, the Washington Sundars there. So as in India spin options, you've got Washington Sundar, who's sort of a frontliner, Abhishek Sharma in there. You'd think that they're already pretty stacked in the seamers department with Natarajan, Bhuvi, and Umar Malik. So I think for that, yeah, if they want to go with that extra spinner, I'd put Rash in. If not, I think we'll see someone like I think we'll probably see Klaassen. As you say, it will be dependent on the track. If they really want to go mental and go with all the spin, we could even see Akil Hussain and Rashid in there as well. But also, yeah, but then Markram might bowl himself as well. So there's many options. I think but yeah, it will be interesting to see how they do that. As you say, I think it will be pitch dependent.
Right. Here we go. Some CNQs from a few days ago from Sawmill Tackle, who is an absolute legend of the game, been a long time subscriber. He said, great podcast as always. Thank you very much. He's got a couple of CNQs. So one, you mentioned that you'd love to see how Harry Brook does in the Ashes, but with Bairstow returning to the squad, does Brook even get a spot in the Ashes 11? Yes, yes, he definitely does. He definitely gets a spot.
Yes,
but how?
This has been giving me sleepless nights. Honestly, I've been worried about this, and I'm thinking about it a lot, more than I should be, because what you have is you've got Brook, Root, and Bairstow, who all want to bat 4 and 5.
Yeah,
there's no world where Root's going to push back to number 3, Brook 4, and Bairstow 5. I just can't see that happening. My solution, very creative solution. I think James will like this. Drop Zach Crawley.
Yeah.
Open with Ollie Pope and Ben Duckett. Here it goes. Ben Stokes at 3.
Okay.
And 4, 5, 6, Bairstow, Brook, and Root, Brook, Bairstow. Because the only other option is pushing Bairstow to number 3. But we've seen Bairstow play 3 in the past, and he doesn't enjoy that position. So, yeah, possibly. I mean, Ollie Pope has made that number 3 position himself. The other option is, does Bairstow come in as an opener? We've seen it in ODI.
Yeah. It's
questions.
There are some interesting ones here. So I think any orientation, you're going to be batting somebody out of position. Now, we've seen how well Ollie Pope has adapted to number 3, and he has been very impressive. He's a bit unfortunate in this last innings because he looked really good and then just went out to a good catch. But part of me is hesitant to move Ollie Pope again because I do think he's done really well in that number 3 slot. Ben Stokes, I would quite like to see him open because I think
open.
Because I think he is technically very good if he wants to be. And there was talk about him batting number 3, like even sort of 2019, 2020 kind of time. So I think Ben Stokes could open and then Pope at 3, Root 4, Brook 5 or 6, Bairstow the other, and then Folkes, Robinson, Broad, blah, blah, blah.
The other option, which I'm less keen for, is Ben Folkes gets left out for Bairstow, and then either Pope or Bairstow get the gloves, which I'm less keen on that because I think that Folkes is just such a good keeper, and I think that Folkes offers some stuff with the bat as well. I think he is good, but yeah, the issue is we are trying to fit in our 2 informed players with Bairstow and Brook. Well, informed before he got injured, and both of them want to bat number 5.
Yeah, and I think it would. It's sad to say, but I think it would only take a few bad innings from Ben Folkes to be dropped and Bairstow given the gloves. That's all it would take, because like realistically, you are looking to balance that side. But I really like Ben Folkes. I think he's a very, very good player, and he's a brilliant keeper. And in my opinion, you want your best keeper in an Ashes side, because those chances, you need somebody that's going to be taking them 99% of the time. Because we learned from the last Ashes that all it takes is like, 3-4 mistakes, and it really, really does damage you.
The other issue as well with that is Crawley's not done the best in the slips either.
No.
Which is his other position that he plays. And actually, Bairstow's a ridiculously good slip catcher. So, yeah, there are so many options here.
I think Crawley is...
His days are numbered.
Realistically, yeah. He cannot stay in this side. Okay, the second question and our last question. So if you want your CNQ to have a chance of being answered in the next video, leave it down in the comments below. CNQ, have a hashtag at the start so we know what to look at. It is from the same bloke. So Sawmill Taco said, given how easily New Zealand capitulated to England, does Sri Lanka have a serious chance of 2-0ing New Zealand and booking themselves a spot in the World Test Championship final?
In Sri Lanka?
That would be pretty special. I would love that.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be crazy, actually.
Are they playing home or away, New Zealand?
I'm not sure. This is something I really wish I'd...
Because that's the whole thing. Like, if Sri Lanka are playing at home and they do win those two series matches, they have a really good chance. If you think about when England went there in their last tour, they got blown away in that first test by Embel Dunia.
Yeah, so, it is New Zealand at home, I believe.
So I think for that, New Zealand have a bit more of a chance just because their bowling attack, I think, would rinse through Sri Lanka's batting lineup.
Yeah.
Especially on a pitch like we've seen. There is a chance it would be such a good story if that happened. Are Sri Lanka good enough? I don't know. But it would be a great story if it did, didn't it?
It would be very fun. I would enjoy it a lot. Right. That's all we've got time for. So, like I said, leave your Cricket Nerds questions down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow our social medias. It's down in the link tree in the description. You can give our channel a subscribe if you like what you see and you want to see more. Also, drop us a like. It really does help. Other than that, we'll see you guys next time. So goodbye.